Missing out on the league title by a point to Arsenal in 1972 was hugely disappointing for Leeds. It had been another punishing season, with only 3 players, Norman Hunter, Peter Lorimer and Paul Madeley, playing every league game. Madeley was one of the unsung heroes of Revie's Leeds. He played over 700 times for the club in a variety of positions. After a poor start though, Leeds were out of the League Cup and behind the pace in the league. But once the team were back to full fitness, their form returned.
Jones on the end of the 6-yard box. Gray! Yes, I think it went in, but it certainly did that time. Clark is up. Jones! And Clark, I think, got the final flick. Great cross, Jones! 3-1! Here's Gray, took it off Charlton as though he wasn't there. Here's Lorimer. Jones! Jones! Lorimer! 5! Forward for Gray again. Jones, Gray. Clark out to the left. In comes Clark! Gray through to Lorimer. Jones coming in, number 2. John Giles, look at the space there. On for Clark. Jenkins. Giles. Free kick against Stokes. No, it's not given, but here's Lorimer. And I think that must count as an own goal. Fry giving it straight to Peter Lorimer for number 5. Play number 6. Gray moving to the near post. Jack Charlton! Gray held off. Lorimer is underneath it. In comes Jones!
But despite those fantastic performances, there were no domestic honours. The only consolation that season was beating Juventus in the Fairs Cup final. After a 2-2 draw in Turin, an Alan Clark goal in the second leg saw Leeds lift the trophy on the away goal rule.
To be a good team in Europe then, it was a lot more physical and you had a lot more to put up with.
I was playing against a lad called Causio, who was an Italian international. After about 30 minutes, he come over and said to me, something like, "Cooper, you stop going that way." And I said, no. So I knew I'd got him.
I loved European nights. I loved the floodlight and the European game. Teams you hadn't played against. You know, you're in there and the gaffer used to say, it's us against them lads. We were a good team. We were a hard team to beat in Europe. Very hard.
Despite the impressive performances though, Revie and Leeds still faced a struggle when it came to the image of the club. Revie was introduced to Paul Trevelyan, an artist and entrepreneur, who told Revie he could change the public's perception of Leeds.
Teams used to go out and the players would do their little warm-up, and we used to go out and warm up as a group. We wore these number tags on the socks.
I didn't mind the stocking tags because they were a novelty one day. It was something different.
The infamous wave was born, but Leeds received criticism in the press for being a showbiz 11. But Revie was undeterred and now challenged Trevelyan to produce a record ahead of the FA Cup semi-final against Birmingham City. Trevelyan, not a man to turn down a challenge, went to see his friend and songwriter Les Reed.
I said, look what I've got. I said, I've got this. And he said, what's a football? I said, no, it's not, it's a record. It's a record, we're going to do a record. And now they're bringing it out for the semi-final. Not for the final, the semi-final. He said, love it. I said, are you on for it? He said, we'll do it. He said, how'd you see it? I said, a marching one, marching. Come here, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, something like that. If you lead, got it. And I went back and said, Don, we got the record. And when Don heard it, Don, funnily enough, loved Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. We love you, because he wanted them to be loved. That's the side he loved. He said, I love Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. I love it, I love it, I love it.
As the team walked out at Wembley, they threw balls into the crowd. Leeds had been impressive in their cup campaign, conceding only 2 goals on their way to the final.
Charlie George losing his way a little.
And Madeley to take it up now for Leeds United. A fiercely competitive match and nothing between the two sides. Jones now for Leeds. And McNabb only half stopping him. Jones getting it across. And Clark going in! And Alan Clark has put Leeds ahead! So Billy Bremner to get the cup from Her Majesty the Queen. The cup already with the white ribbons. Leeds get it for the first time in their history. In centenary year. The cup goes to Billy Bremner and Leeds United.
Revie's team had finally won the FA Cup. Alan Clark scored from Mick Jones's cross, with Jones dislocating his elbow with almost the last Leeds kick of the match. But Leeds weren't allowed to celebrate too long. Instead of the bus taking the players back to Leeds, it headed to Wolves, as the league title decider was incomprehensibly scheduled 48 hours later on the Monday night. It was a patched-up Leeds who were without Gray, Giles and Clark. Bremner played up front in the absence of Jones. Despite all their efforts, the heavily depleted and emotionally drained side couldn't beat Wolves. Leeds were again runners-up by a point, this time to Brian Clough's Derby County.
I think some of the players, even now, are unhappy that they didn't really get time to celebrate the FA Cup success that night.
It had been another exhausting season. Revie brought in Trevor Cherry and Gordon McQueen as defensive cover for the 72-73 season. There was revenge over Derby and Wolves in the league, but heartache in the FA Cup. Leeds were overwhelming favourites against Sunderland, but on the day lost 1-0. It was one of the hardest defeats for Revie and his team, and they struggled to comprehend the result.
It was an unbelievably bad day, really bad day. We were all humiliated on the day. But what a lot of people forget, with the lads sticking together like we did, and the next season started, we went 29 games unbeaten. I think Sunderland were still in the second division in 12 months' time.
The end of the 1973 season saw the retirement of Jack Charlton, with his record of 773 appearances over a 20-year career. As Leeds prepared for their Cup Winners' Cup final against Milan, rumours had begun to circulate. Revie had been spotted in Liverpool, and when the players confronted him, he confirmed although nothing had been finalised, he was leaving for Everton. Leeds gave everything in Greece, but the game was a farce. There were allegations that the referee had been paid off. On the night, the Milan players got away with fouls, whilst Leeds players were heavily punished. After Milan won 1-0, the Greek public cheered Leeds on a lap of honour and booed Milan. The referee was later banned for life for fixing matches, but the final was never investigated. Back in Leeds, the team prepared for Revie's departure.
They'd said goodbye to him at the end of the previous season, thinking he was gone. He came back and told the team that they were going to win the league this season and they were going to win it unbeaten. And he started training them. It was clear to the players from the concentration on attacking, he wanted them to win the league by winning every single game.
The club obviously had been together for 10, 12 years, a lot of the players. And I don't think he was actually looking forward to breaking the team up.
The exact reasons for Revie changing his mind aren't fully known. He'd been allegedly offered eye-watering amounts to join Everton, so whatever his motives, it was a significant decision. The softer image was still being portrayed, and that season saw the unveiling of the new Smiley badge. The team started brightly under the new floodlights at Ellen Road.
I can remember him saying to us once, right, we can't do this, we can't do that, let's go and win the league. And the league was the only thing we had to concentrate on. And what did we do? We won the league.
There were early setbacks when they lost Eddie Gray for the season. Johnny Giles missed 4 months, but Leeds beat the Liverpool 19-game record of unbeaten starts. Revie chose to forgo the league and UEFA Cup and concentrate on the league. By the time the run had ended against Stoke at the end of February, Leeds were 9 points clear of second-place Liverpool. Both teams stumbled in the run-in, and it came down to the final game. Leeds had a significant goal advantage, meaning a point against QPR would be sufficient. 7,000 fans travelled south to watch Alan Clark score. Leeds United were the English champions once again.
It's changed now in football. There's no director of football then. Don was the manager, the director of football. basically ran the club, you know, and he done it magnificently.
England's embarrassing departure from the 1974 World Cup meant Alf Ramsey was sacked and Don Revie took his place. With Revie gone, chairman Manny Cousins saw this as the ideal opportunity to take back control of the club. Torn between Revie's suggestion of Johnny Giles and Billy Bremner, the board decided to ignore his advice and go in a different direction. The Revie era would end after more European controversy, as Leeds lost the 1975 European Cup final in Paris against Bayern Munich.
I remember stood in the game and the national anthem was going and he was in the stand, the gaffer. He was sat up there and we're all looking up like that at him, you know. And for the team and for him and for me, and this, I would have wanted dearly to win that European Cup.
To be the manager of their country was a massive honour, and yeah, he wanted it, and he got offered it once Ramsey had been sacked. I was 9 at the time, and I was really upset even then. So I can only imagine how upset Leeds fans that older were, because it was a big loss to Leeds. Let's be fair, completely honestly, Leeds United wouldn't have been Leeds United that we knew and loved in the 70s without Don Revie being manager from 1961. It just wouldn't have happened.
Don Revie remains to this day the longest serving and most successful manager in Leeds United's history.